Okay guys, we're on the upper Snohomish River and we're doing some drift fishing. I've got a Dick Knight spoon on here, a number 1 50/50, and you'll notice here for my lead I've got a small cannonball on a dropper. The dropper is about 8 inches. The reason I'm using a dropper with a cannonball is because our water's a little faster here and I need to get down and slow the gear down a little bit, because with the pencil lead it's just flying through. So we're going to talk about where you cast when you're drift fishing. I've talked a lot about this in seminars and I still see guys struggling with this, and they tell me that they're having their gear wrap up around their main line. So we're going to talk about where to cast, why you're casting there, and where not to cast. So let's take a look at the river right here. So I'm looking straight out in front of me. Now if you're standing on a bank, the same thing applies, okay? Whether you're on a bank or a boat, it all applies. So straight out in front of me. Now the area I want to fish is from straight out in front of me, drifting downriver to about here. Once I go below this area here, my gear is not on the bottom. The flow of the river's raised my weight off the bottom and my gear is no longer fishing effectively. So I'm just going to reel my gear in. So I want to cast not here, but slightly up from straight out in front of me. 10, 15 degrees, all right? My gear is going to land in the water. By the time it gets in front of me, it's now on the bottom and I'm fishing effectively all through here. Okay, so let's see what that looks like with our Dick Knight spoon and our 3/4 ounce dropper. Slightly up from in front of me, I adjust my line and I'm drifting through. Now with a dropper, I sometimes have to reel very slowly just to ensure that I'm getting good action on my spoon. Drifting through the drift, I'm following my main line with my rod. Now I'm coming to the end of my drift, so now I'm just going to reel my gear in. I reel my gear in and look, I don't have any fouls. My main line is not wrapped around my leader. My dropper's hanging free. Now, let's look at what happens when we cast too high. Get our line set. Now we're on the bottom well before we're straight out in front of us. Our gear is going to work down through the drift. Again, following my main line with my rod. Give a little bit of reel so my lure still maintains some action. I'm getting to the end of my drift. I can feel my weight starting to lift off the bottom, so I'm going to burn the gear in. Okay guys, I've just reeled my gear in and let's take a look at what's happened here. Here's my dropper, here's my leader, and look at this mess I've got. I've got the leader wrapped up around the main line. It's wrapped around the dropper. You know, we need to get this unwound. You know, this is what happens. And fortunately, this one came apart pretty easily. But this is what happens when you cast too high. Number one, your lure's not actioning properly. So you're not catching fish. Your gear's just wrapping up. And by the time you get into the area that you do want to fish, your lure's not working for you. Okay? So when you guys cast, make sure that you're casting in the right spot. so the lure actions properly for you. And then you'll be fishing more effectively. So one more time, just slightly up from in front of yourself, 10 to 15 degrees, take up the slack, and follow your main line with your rod tip. When you're fishing the Dick Knight spoon, depending upon the amount of weight that you're using, if it's too deep or too fast, you may have to slightly reel just a little bit to maintain the proper action of the spoon. And when you get to the end of your drift, just reel it in. Because you're not fishing, your gear's not on the bottom anymore. I hope this helps you guys for when you're drift fishing on the river. Fish effectively so that you can put more fish to the bank or in the boat. Until next time, thanks for watching.